Hello, I'm C3PO, human-cyborg relations.
Met him with a restraining order. You're a feisty little one.
Hey guys, Droid Protocol here, welcome back to my channel. Now, I just want to start by saying I'm really sorry for those of you who do follow my channel. I haven't actually made a video for 6 months. What the fuck? But that's because I've been at school and trying to work to feed myself. But I thought I would do a quick update today because I've done quite a bit of work on my my naked Threepio version.
What do you mean, naked?
Here he is, in all of his glory. I made modifications to the face because there was some things which I didn't like, so I fixed that. But there were several modifications I made to the wiring because I didn't like the way that I had done this originally.
No! God, please, no! No!
And so I thought I wanted to make it a little bit more true to the actual screen use prop. So I really tried to get a lot of these individual wires correct, the colouring correct. I even changed the way, the angle at which they attach onto the faceplate. I added sections with binding, all sorts of different stuff. So anyway, moving on from that, I did some more modifications to my chest plate. And I think in one of my previous videos, I'd actually modified this to look a little bit more like a picture I'd seen, a couple of pictures I'd seen, because this hole at the top here was the wrong shape. And that's mainly caused by the fact that this droid in the movie was quite small, and I'm obviously making this to fit a 6-foot person. Changing the diameter of the neck actually throws out the dimensions of the chest plate, so the belly disc was actually way too low. And so just the other day I've actually chopped that all off, completely rebuilt all of this lower section here. That's all kind of a little bit more squashed up together and it fits a lot better. So when I'm wearing this, rather than the belly disc being right down low, it's actually up higher where it should be. So the next thing that I've done since my last video was I've actually changed the shorts or the pants. I had reconstructed the piece at the front. That was rebuilt, but it was a little bit big and it was also not quite correct in its shape. I've added in some sections here which, if you look at some of the pictures up close, it's very difficult to see, but these other little details that are kind of behind the main section. So I've created a little bit of layering there and put in those details. And then I also noticed that the way I had the codpiece was actually the wrong shape. So I've reshaped that, and I have to just add there's a couple of little rivets there, and that's about it. I also changed the actual size of the hip piece as well because it was really big. It was a little bit too wide, so I thought I'll take it in a little bit at the back. I think it took about 1 inch out. Yeah, that's what I've been up to in the last couple of days. I just did all the painting yesterday. I think it's actually looking quite good. The color is close, but it's not quite the bronzy color that I was looking for. But I think once I weather this, I will be able to tone it down, make it a little bit more brown. The droid is very, very weathered, and for that fact, I haven't really gone overboard with finishing some of my surfaces. And when I spray it silver, it really does show up a lot of seam lines and things like that. But I think with some heavy weathering, and because there's going to be a lot of wires and stuff, I think I'll be able to get away with a lot of those little errors in my finishing. So I'm going to just leave it as it is. And I've got a chip. Once I get the weathering on there, it's really going to change the way that color looks. Then I'm going to go on to wires. And I've got a ton of wires. I think I might have shown some of these in my previous videos, but there's lots of different things that I've actually put together to try and save weight and to try and save money. These are actually made from macrame cord, macrame.
In French, this would be said as macramé.
That language I don't understand, and therefore it makes me angry.
I'll just show you up close what I'm talking about. They're basically macrame cord wrapped with electrical tape, so that I've got different varying sizes, and they have a little bit of a texture on them, which just kind of adds a little bit more dimension, I think, compared to the really clean nature of like PVC coated wire. So I've got a few of these which will predominantly be in the chest cavity, and some of them will be used on the legs and stuff because 3PO's legs are quite heavily covered in wires. This section on the front here is actually what I'm planning on connecting. A lot of the main wiring from the front will be hanging from this collar piece, which will connect it onto there. So that'll have a bulk of my chest detail already hanging there and ready to go. Then the next part will be put on the front chest plate, which will also have its own layer of wires connected in and around all of these sections. So there will be multiple layers of wiring that will be connected to different parts of the costume, so that as I slip into each section, it will basically tick off each area that needs to be covered with wires. So I thought that would be the best idea, because that means that I don't have to have visible straps and things sticking out, particularly for the pants. I can basically just have, all the wiring detail as a demonstration just kind of draped over my shoulders before I put on any of the other pieces. So it'll all just add layers and layers and more dimension. Another thing that the wires is, I basically finished off the Undergarment Suit. Now this turned out really, really nicely. I spent a lot of money on tulip dimensional paint, and from my research and experience and talking to friends that also have wires painted on suits, Tulip is probably the only brand that has the stretch. Other brand that I bought, when I painted it on, it kind of went brittle and had no stretch, whereas the Tulip brand is extremely stretchy. Now, admittedly, I did stretch my suit slightly, over a large surface before I painted it, which does help with this paint stretching a little bit more. But because I've pre-stretched the fabric when I painted it, it means that it's not overstretching the paint as I slip into the suit. So I managed to get, the front was painted way back, but I've completely painted the back section, and I've done the the front section of the arms as well. So that's all looking really, really lovely, and when I wear that with the helmet, it looks incredible. So I'm pretty happy with that. I did start constructing arms, so I have 2 arms now, and I'm yet to figure out how these will be incorporated into the suit, whether they're just gonna stick onto the undersuit with Velcro or have magnets or whatever. But I've already started planning how the wiring will be attached. So I've got some wire details that will come out of the shoulder caps, and they will sort of slip in underneath the suit. And I may use neodymium magnets just underneath the shoulder pads, so that the wires will just like stick in there and it will just neaten it off and fill it in. Anyway, so other than that, the only other things that I've got to work on next are the legs, and they're a bit of a challenge, and I've kind of been putting those off for a little bit, but I will get to that eventually. I've got hand shells that I made a while ago, which are just kind of going to slip on and probably just Velcro into place on top of my gloves. I made a bunch of fingers, and I've basically just made the fingertips out of black warbler. So I've got this section of the finger is made from a PVC tube, and then I've got all the details done with PVC. So they turned out quite good, and they're not quite exactly the same as a 3PO hand, but they look pretty good and they're functional. So I've just got to figure out how to attach those with the gloves and etc. There's just a lot to think about when it comes to trying to make this thing work, because the gloves are hard to put on with that are incorporated into the suit, and I don't want to have anything that's kind of connected to those fingertips of the suit, because then it makes it really impossible to get on and off. So I'm trying to work out a way that these can all just be possibly attached to this with wires or something like that, so that I can just slip the fingers in and velcro it on top, and then have some wire details that come from the arm sections, and then just magnet onto this or something. So there's a few little engineering things that I have to think about, but it's all coming together very quickly now, which is great. That's where I'm up to. That's Naked 3PO. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!
Subscribe, goddammit.
But what do you mean, naked? My parts are showing! Oh my goodness!